Yeah, Venerable Sisters and Dhamma friends, we are going to start a question and answer session. As usual, we'll start with the written questions. We'll invite Lakshmi to present the question already written.
Thank you, Venerable Sir. I have good news and bad news for you, Venerable Sir.
Yeah.
Very short, only 2 questions. So I think I'll invite them to ask a lot of verbal questions.
So it's a good news for me.
That's what I thought. Bad news for the rest of us. So the first question is on walking and on sitting meditation. Thero Saranai, Most Venerable Bhante, early morning walking meditation experience started with noting and knowing right leg and left leg. Went on like that for about 20 minutes. Then knowing continued and noting was automatically dropped. Thoughts occurred. Mindfulness was very sharp and almost all the thoughts were observed as a third person without any emotions towards thoughts. Neither of them claimed or disclaimed. It was understood that the speed of walking was adjusted by the body itself from time to time. An episode of unknown occurred. Cannot explain, but following that, I was fully aware as if I have undergone general anesthesia. Subsequent to this episode, knowing those occurred, and that was very smooth. Sit-down meditation done subsequent to that. The experience was very much similar to above, and the primary object was the seated body posture. Greatly appreciate your valued discussion and advice. I offer my heartfelt gratitude to you, sir, by worshipping you as a humble pupil of yours. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So, of course, there is nothing to remark. The way it is happening, it's okay. Only the matter of maintaining the same trend or maintaining the same momentum, acceleration. Since we are in a residential retreat, you must keep your body and the mind healthy, so that this trend will be continuing. Main thing is not to disturb the trend, and you must not accelerate also that. You must just let it happen in this natural phase. Don't be smart to accelerate, then distraction may happen, disturbance may happen. So let that same thing happen slowly. You go more deep into the object in terms of the characteristics, shapes and the manner, and sometimes go through beyond it and go to the unknown area also. So much so you know about the object, the character and the manner, so much so your confidence to the unknown also develops. They are reciprocal each other. So let that happen in the natural order. Take care about your body, mental health and the physical health, and that is the only facilitation. That's the only way you can facilitate it. Nothing specific in technical aspects.
The second and last question, Venerable Bhante.
Yeah. Most Venerable Bhante, what do you mean by the characteristics of object? Whatever I come across during the observation, or the form?
Whatever you have mentioned about you experience in walking meditation, or if you are experiencing in sitting meditation, when and where in-breath or left leg happening, you are explaining in terms of its characters, in terms of its shape, and in terms of this manner. These are the only thing you can do. So start with the shape, and when you are observing repetitively how the shape change along the time is what you call the manner. So, as far as you keep the shape in view, you are bound to see more and more manners and more deep essence of the or intrinsic characteristic of the nature, of the object what you are talking. Any object in the meditation jargon, we explain in terms of shape and the manner.
Material or immaterial both?
No, this is, we are talking about the materiality, the left leg, or the in-breath and out-breath, that's the air column, air movement. So we can explain in terms of shape, in terms of the manner. So whatever you explain, they fall into these two categories, whether you know or not.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay.
The second question, Venerable Bhante, Namo Buddhaya. As understand, primary objects are either the breath or walking. What about other chores like washing, sweeping, eating, Bhante? Please clarify my misunderstanding and ignorance. Blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. Much merits not to be named.
In sitting, you must make sure when whatever the wandering mind, whatever the bewilderment, you must know when and where you feel space in your mind, bring back to the attention to the sitting posture, or the breath may be a specific detail of the sitting posture. In walking, you bring back to the attention whenever possible, when there is no distractions, to the walking posture or to the left and the right. Whatever the other thing, the intentional thing you do. You can take the bodily posture as well as the intentional thing you do, washing dishes, brushing your teeth, whatever it may be. So, explain in terms of sitting, walking and day-to-day, sitting posture and the breath. Walking posture and the left and the right. In the other places, whatever the posture you are and the intention, the intentional thing you do in day-to-day activities, this must be made up in your mind. Otherwise, when the mind becomes bewildered, you don't know where to come and land. That means you are not prepared. You are not a good yogi. So theoretically at least understand, these are the three things where I must come back and anchored upon, or take as the benchmark, or take as the reference point, take as the pivotal point. It is being explained very clearly in the basic instructions. That's all.
That was the last question. After the verbal questions are over, Venerable Sir, is it okay if I invite Devika just to say a couple of sentences about her program in August? Okay.
So before that, we'll invite, if there are any other questions?
Verbal questions?
Further questions to question and answer session.
Most Venerable Bhante, I feel very hot most of the day, very hot. It's like, I don't know the word in English, when you burn wood, first you have the flames, and then when the flames go down, it's this red charcoal, you know? Yeah. So that's the way I feel, and when I meditate, sitting or lying, I stay as good as I can with my primary object, with raising and falling. Sometimes then the heat calms down, or I feel it less, but as this heat is here, I was wondering if there is something else I can do with it or use it somehow.
If I correct you, that you feel heat.
Yes.
You feel the climate and the outside atmosphere is heated.
I don't feel it from the outside. Sometimes I even think it could be something like relatively cool outside probably, but the heat really comes from inside.
So bodily you feel heat.
Yes.
When you feel heat, you feel you are mindful or unmindful?
I'm very much aware of the heat.
That awareness is it's a sign of mindfulness or distraction for mindfulness? Is it a result of your mindfulness or distraction for your mindfulness?
I find it distractful.
So that means you have to do away with the bodily heat. You can't have the mindfulness as well as absent-mindedness. So if whenever the bodily heat happens, if it is unbearable, then you have to do something. Otherwise you have to understand the heat means I am aware, I am here, I am now. But the very heat is uncomfortable, but the become mindful is something appreciable. So the Buddha says, take the appreciable part. If you are going to think, I'll be more mindful if it is cooled down, it will be more mindful if I do a air conditioning, that means you are no more in here. You are thinking future. This is the crafty mind. You have to understand, if you go to hell, much.
I'm training.
So there is no one to complain there. So therefore, only the question, whenever such uncomfortability happens, what I raise is, does that indicate a sign of or endowment of my mindfulness, or is a distraction for your mindfulness? If you are absent-minded, you don't know what is happening in the body. Heat or cold, it doesn't matter because you are distracted, you are eccentric. Then you never complain. But here where the mind is very sensitive, and every senses impingements become very amplified, very vivid. That is called vigilance. So vigilance happens, you feel immediate. And mind is asking this and that external answers. So that is the crafty mind. You have to understand that's a perversion of the mind. And we can say, if it is bearable, you have to understand that a good part is now I am utterly mindful, and you cannot be unmindful now because that heat. Unbearable, or if it is health-wise, it is dangerous. There must have some common character to the others also. So other people also meditating. So there may uncomfortability I accept, yes, but bearable. If it is unbearable, you have to do something. Do you think it is a mental one or physical one? If I am to put the question the other way. Physically you feel the climate is too big, or it is due to some kind of a mind-made camouflage or mind-made amplification?
I think it's physical. Physical? Yes.
So that physically, this is not the heat, this is the humidity. This heat is not much of a serious one, but here very humid. This tropical climate make you quite uncomfortable. Everything get mold, damp. So therefore sweating. You have to do a lot of walking meditation, then only the sweat can go and you feel kind of a thing. You feel like comfortable here, but this climate is not comfortable due to the humidity, always above 80. And specifically this kind of a climate, clouded and some rainy, and it's full time. Therefore this building construction and our life and our day-to-day, everything we have to give a consideration about this humidity. You can't keep anything outside, get molded. Pillowcases, curtains and everything. And now we are in the most dry time in the year. August and February. Other times it is like a runny nose, sweating. It is always water. It is not the heat, but the humidity, water vapor. It's too much, so you don't feel comfortable. So in that sense, Anuradhapura and other areas, it is much hotter, but windy and humidity is less. But when you go to Western countries, it is very dry because very low humidity. So this uncomfortability is not due to heat, but due to the, the humidity. So therefore, very difficult to find an answer for that. You can make it a positive point. As far as you are uncomfortable, you are utterly mindful. There is no other way. Even ask the mind to go out and have fun, it will never go. Because body is in uncomfortability. So you have to make you sit in a productive way, positive way. That is why the Buddha explained, make it a reason to be glad. Pollyanna. You must try to find a reason to be glad, and this uncomfortability keep all the time your attention more than other time due to the humidity. That's a theoretical answer. I know it is not a practical answer.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Bhante was saying about one-pointedness and have to go deeper than that. In what way that one can go deeper? And can one be stuck on one-pointedness?
Once you get the one-pointedness, it's a matter of time. When you keep something face to face, more you keep longer, naturally mind and the observed object and the observed mind become closer and closer and closer and closer. If the mind wandered off, it's going far away. So once you keep in view with, once you avenued, keep the same way. Don't try to go closer. It is naturally becoming more and more vigilant, more and more closer. So therefore you have to make sure the object is face to face with. Vishayabhimukha bhava paccupatthana, that is how the commentators indicate. Face the object that you intended as, recognize as a primary object, and keep it longer. And as far as you are understanding their nature or the character or the manner, association become closer and closer and closer. That means a kind of a penetration or plunging into the object is. That is an endowment. Now you have nothing to do. Only thing is, once the object becomes face to face, keep it longer time.
Venerable Sir, may I then just ask a bit of a question?
Yeah.
On this retreat, it's been, for whatever reason, a little difficult for me to meditate as the RO, maybe. I don't know. When I do try to meditate, whether it is walking or sitting, the results are quite similar. I'll be aware of the primary object, either the left and right. And with walking, I very rapidly get into a brisk walk, which is my comfortable speed, and I'm happy with that. Also, just almost as quickly, my mind starts wandering. It'll go, it'll come back, it'll go, it'll come back. All kinds of things, mostly about what the RO is supposed to do, keep popping into my head and go. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to disturb me when my thought wanders and comes back. It comes quite comfortably to my walking. So sometimes the walking is my primary object, close up front, and the thoughts are further back in the background. Sometimes the thoughts are in the foreground and the walking seems to be in the background, but I'm still aware and it continues. So that's the walking, and at least I have yet not got angry with myself for this happening on this retreat.
So if I have to make a cross question, this familiarity with your thoughts and the primary object and interchanging each other, that very familiarity make you comfortable, or do you consider it as still I am striving, still thoughts are coming, still I am worrying, and that what is your judgment in the sense? have this more and more you familiar the thoughts and the primary object interchange, do you think it's kind of a mastery or do you think kind of a losing the control?
I used to think of it as losing the control. I don't think I have quite come to the point of calling it mastery, but I have come to the point where I have recognized that is who I am. Because if I can't control it, then that is obviously what I am. At the end of it, most of the time I don't even know what I've been thinking. It just pops in and out and comes and goes. But they're mostly RO stuff.
Never mind that, at least you know RO. When you go back, you don't know the subject matter also. It is completely bewildered. So therefore the known devil is better than unknown. In that sense, that is what we take the narrow, the bewildering subject matter. Topics are becoming narrowed down, at least you know the shape. They are RO related questions. So okay, that is the way we develop familiarity, not that situation is under control. The bookkeeping is there. Now you know the business is running for loss or for gain. So that is the only thing the yogi can do. That is the only facilitation we can do, because by observing we can't take the situation under control. And while it is happening, less and less worries means my advancement is happening. You know, this is it. There is no magical formula. There is no other way to get out, and only thing is, just like filling a bottle with very narrow mouth, you have to pull one drop by drop. Amount water you put there, so much of air is coming out. Otherwise, it's not difficult. So day by day you have to understand, more and more thought moment to your primary object means, you are putting a drop by drop into the bottle with a very narrow mouth. So if it is happening, you see there's a kind of a the replacement of air inside, but it's happening very slowly. And that very understanding is what you call the truth of suffering. It's always that is the case. Other people don't know. We know, but the bloody thing is the same. It is not under satisfactory situation, and we must learn the art not to worry. Because we can talk very decently, diplomatically. This is what happened in my meditation. It is nothing, unskillfulness is not there. No hiding, true to type, exactly what is happening. So therefore this is all. And when the moment you appreciate it, a miracle will happen. Because you are not, main thing is you are not worrying, because you know occasionally mind naturally go to your primary object. So that's what your blessing to your past memory, past trial and error, now it is going there. And if you consider this as negative, that means you are worrying. If you consider this is the nature, you are neutral. If you become happy, that means you are ready to advance. So the Buddha says, be glad. Now we know about ourselves, at least in the walking meditation. Now we are going to listen about sitting meditation.
Yes, in the sitting meditation, for the most part during this retreat, it has been on the breath, in and out breath. Just about as soon as I start, the breath is very calm. Before you know it, my mind has trotted off and it goes all over the place and comes back, usually to a calm breath. Occasionally the breath becomes a bit more gross. I have almost never had to force it, because now I know I'm not supposed to force it. But if there is a concern, perhaps it's that my mind is more on trotting off than on the breath. So if the breath is the primary object, then I'm not there very often. Mostly I go off. Most of the time I don't even know what I've been thinking of. Sometimes I may, and at least I will jot it down at the end and say, okay, Lakshmi, you have to do A, B, C, D, E, So there is a bit more irritation, because I feel I'm not meditating.
Leave the term meditation. If you replace the term meditation by mindfulness.
So when the mind goes off, it's not always mindful. Sometimes it is mindful. Sometimes it will lead to sloth and torpor. If I have been very tired or if something has distressed me, then I may even fall asleep. Even when I am asleep, I seem to know mostly what's happening, but not always.
That in walking as well as in sitting, walking you can briefly say, whenever it is wandering, it is RO-related questions.
Correct.
And in the sitting, you see, they are not important matters.
Yes.
We have with this called inner thoughts.
That's
called background thoughts.
Yeah.
So that means you know the content of thoughts.
I don't always remember what I was thinking.
But category-wise.
Yes.
That very knowledge is by mindfulness or thanks to what quality you comes to know about the content of the thought.
Mostly there are RO things that I have to do, so eventually I have to do it.
No, that you know in sitting, RO-related question.
Correct.
In walking, astray thoughts, so inner thoughts.
Yes.
That understanding this as inner thoughts is happening due to your mindfulness or due to lack of mindfulness?
It is a combination of both. If I have absolutely no knowledge about what on earth went through my mind, or even when I went until I come back, then I feel that I am not that mindful.
I am not. I am asking about another way.
Okay.
Question asking another way. You know they are an inner thought.
Correct.
That understanding of that inner thought is a quality of or endowment of your mindfulness or due to lack of mindfulness.
Sometimes, so Venerable Sir, if you are mindful with what you are doing, thought when the mind goes elsewhere, isn't that mindless?
That is why I am asking you. You are going to put me in trouble. No.
It is not a conscious decision to go.
That is separate time. I am not asking the intention, I am not asking the volition. Now you have certain amount of bookkeeping about your inner thoughts.
Correct.
That bookkeeping is a result of mindfulness or distraction for the mindfulness.
The bookkeeping, of course, is the result of mindfulness.
So that's all. And immediately another question. Bookkeeping on the primary object and bookkeeping of the astray thoughts. Which one is more skillful?
They seem to be equal.
No.
Yes, I mean, if the mind is on the breath, then I am aware that it is a subtle breath.
Yeah.
It is rarely a gross breath. So that is also mindful.
Yeah, and then sometimes the mind goes off and you know it is on inner thoughts.
Yes, now when it goes off, I often don't know that it has gone till I'm out there.
You can't claim so far according to the talk you have made. You know it is thinking. You know
Correct.
It is inert.
Yes, that is true.
So that very bloody knowledge coming due to the meditation, due to the mindfulness or not.
It may be mindfulness, but that is also my nature.
No, I make sure you are born full. You are due to your effort only. Now not only you know your primary subject or main object, even if it goes, there's a certain amount of knowledge. It is a thought, it is not a sound, it is not a pain.
That
it
of
is
course,
not,
yes.
Okay, thought. And then you know the grossly, it's inner thoughts.
Yes.
That very understanding, definitely the function of mindfulness. And that mindfulness is much, much, much skillful than understand the primary object. This is the diversification of the mindfulness.
Okay.
While you are doing, without a volition it jumps. Without a will, bewilderment happens. But still there is a kind of a surveillance.
Yes, I know when I'm...
So that is the only thing you have to appreciate, and that's an endowment. It's a right of a gift. It's a kind of a byproduct happening, and it happens very slowly. It is painfully slow. But ultimately you can understand in sitting this, in walking that, my distraction is thought. Thought is basically inner thought. I mean, they are great discoveries. This cannot happen in the absent-minded way. And we can't do it volitionally also.
Yes, because you wouldn't want to do it. It's a waste of time.
No. That is what I am going to say. That wastage of time, if it happens, if you worry about that,
Okay.
If you are not taking account of this is thinking, not others, it is inner thought, it's a great discovery. You can't do when and where you with the primary object. The mishap has to happen. Out of that mishap, you have extract some knowledge. That's an endowment.
Yeah.
That's a gift. So you have to understand, keep as much as possible with the primary object. Don't wish the mind to wander. But whenever it is wandering, if you know it's a thought, it's a sound, it's a pain, knowledge. And that thought is inner thought. Or it is a background thought. It's a knowledge. And that is happening. And when it is happening, mindfulness do by a bifork way. One thing is knowing about the primary object without distraction. And whenever distractions are there, it has a kind of a surveillance. And you have to never undermine it. You have to appreciate it. This is a kind of a gift happening. So whenever possible, with your intention and will and volition, you go to the primary object. And jumping out of it is happening something. It is none of your business. But even then you have some knowledge.
Yeah.
And that is the point. Your personality trait becoming much clear. Because if the other people going to start to talk, they will say, my distraction is a pain, not a thought. My distraction is a sound. So you see, still there is no primary object, still wandering happen. They specifically, categorically can say, he is mad, he is talking about the thought. My problem is not thought, my problem is sound. You see, same people sitting in the same hall, different people. I mean different traits. So this, not the primary object, but the distraction indicates who you are.
Okay.
So you hate that knowledge.
No, I have got used to it.
Wastage of time.
I have got used to it.
No.
If I were doing a job and that was happening, then it's more of a waste of time. But here, meditating.
In meditation, there's nothing called wastage of time. Whatever the mistakes become your teacher.
Right.
Mistakes only, definitely mistake only going to give you the confidence, not the primary object. Primary object is a kind of a, to keep you occupied. But the distractions and the wandering mind, it is completely impromptu. It's a completely electric. But still you know, my mind is always thinking. And in sitting this kind of thinking, walking this kind of thinking, who the hell can tell you about this diagnosis unless otherwise you reveal yourself? And even then if you consider this diagnosis is a negative thing, how can you heal? Diagnosis is a very important thing. More than the doctor's job, diagnosis is the specialist job. We are being paid for a higher rate for the specialists because they never prescribe medicine, they just diagnose. So the Buddha says, the Dveme bhikkhave tathagata deshito Dhamma vinayo Dveme bhikkhave tathagata deshito Dhamma vinayo Achyang accheto passata ayam patama Dhamma desana Achyang accheto dissa tatta nibbindata virajjata vimucchata. Knowing the mistake as mistake is the very first early part of my teaching. And once you understood the mistake or mishap, then only recovery can happen. First and foremost thing is understanding the mishap as mishap, slip as slip. So many people hate that. I am not asking about the mishap, I am talking about the understanding of the mishap. Mishap is negative, but understanding of mishap is double positive.
Yes.
It is diagnostic.
Yeah.
So many people hate news, hate information, hate this knowledge, then no recovery. Because first thing is always bitter in taste. It's a sour in taste, that is, I am such an idiot character, always thinking, always worrying about the thoughts, and one day you have to understand this is the real revealing, real understanding, and it is not intended thing is primary object. But this indicate who am I, what are the inclination, what are the underlying tendencies, what are the directed dispositions. So how many times you have to neutrally observe to understand these trends. And when it happens, If you consider this as negative, it becomes a defilement. If you consider this as a diagnosis, you become Buddha. You become Buddha. Then don't worry, every negative become positive. So therefore it is not how do you call, something to be worried about. There is a great, there's essence or sap of the meditation. Sap of the vipassana meditation, sap of the inside meditation, not the concentration. Definitely you are not concentrated now.
No.
But you are mindful.
Right.
And you think mindfulness on the primary object as positive and mindfulness on the wandering thought as negative. But I would say higher marks you get on the wandering thoughts or sounds or pains, because it is not a beginner's job. It is the sign of an advanced yogi, but naturally yogi is considered as a negative. 4 things they consider as negative. One thing, when you are meditating, you feel irritated. More than non-meditators, meditators are often irritated.
Yes.
Second character is, meditators are more self-critical than dope people, alcoholic and addicted people.
Much more.
Third thing is, they are finding fault with others. Fault finding. And the fourth character is, they are pedantic. Expect everything to run very smooth, work to rule. If you are not meditating, all 4 not there. Irritation, self-criticism, fault finding and pedantic, 4 negatives, but it's a clear sign you are progressing.
The 4 negatives are a sign
all
of
the
progress.
4, that is what you call Dhamma. So if you are going to do away with irritation, you can have little alcohol and kind of thing, you can have a fun, no problem, everything gone. But that is what the people are doing. But instead we sharply be with the primary object, and we know it is boring, it is monotonous, and it is sleeping, and it is negative. Irritation. And the Buddha says, be glad with that irritation, because it's a clear sign mind is inside. And you feel self-critical, mindful. And you find people are not meditating, they are shouting, they are doing trouble to the arrows. Nonsense. Arrow is making nonsense. This is the world. And nothing perfection above this. This is the world. So therefore, knowing that 4 negative things is make us total sum of positive. This is the beauty of mindfulness. It's a kind of an interpretation. All the negative things, there is a reason to be glad. It is a matter of interpretation. So more and more you practice, not only the practice, the very interpretation or your outlook or your view changing, that is the point that you become a different person. Your personality traits are become very innocent, becoming very down to earth, very humble. And see, one day we have to accept it. Then everything gone, no friction. But it's very difficult because your heart, we are losing our traits. We are holding into that so much so, fighting with the reality, what is happening under your very nose. So, Gurdjieff book, Ouspensky is writing these 4 factors. For reason, they are not related to mindfulness. I found it's exactly related to mindfulness. When and where you become mindfulness, you are more irritated. When and where you become mindful, you are self-critical. When and where you become mindful, you find fault with others. When and where you become mindful, you expect everything to be perfect. Because you are not reacting now. So therefore internal turmoil, internal painting now is happening because earlier you react. Now you are not well restrained. So this pent-up energy is happening. So you have to read this pent-up energy as a result of restraint. And don't put it in the negative way. Keep on practicing. So more and more irritation means you learn the truth of suffering, simply the friction in our life. aberration. There is no way, nowhere you can have this frictionless way. It's always there. Accept it. It's the first truth. Even we are meditators, the suffering is suffering. So the day you accept, no one is going against you. You bear innocently, accept this is the world. You never think about adjusting the world. You never think about adjusting people. You never adjusting self-curse by. And you do that. This is, I am also human, this is the way it happens. Otherwise you will think about the technological answers, economical answers, political answers, nothing here, within my jurisdiction. You think that you are gaining?
Yes, Venerable Sir. And also, we have some lovely people on this retreat. So, they have made it a pleasure for me.
So when the things are happening, it appears like negative. But in the meditation sphere, you are cutting through now. Against the grain it is going. Keep the face. Don't distract it. Don't try to find answers. Face it, and you will come out with 1001 ways and means to cope up with this.
Thank you, Venerable Sir.
Theruvan Saranai Bhante.
You have to speak louder, please.
Yes. Theruvan Saranai Bhante. I have 2 questions. One is on walking meditation. When I think with your guidance, I have settled down quite a bit, and I was finding it more easier to be mindful of my steps. And at some point I found I was noting left and right, then it was just knowingly happening. Then my mind wandered and I was able to say, okay, this is a useless thought, and bring it back. I was aware of it. At the same time, when it was very smooth, I felt very sleepy. I think even standing in the middle of the track, I could have just shut my eyes and fallen asleep. It was like I was falling asleep. Then the second one is on sitting meditation. It is, my restlessness has reduced quite a bit, and like you said, I don't focus on the pain anymore, and it doesn't hurt as often as it used to. And since I can't focus on my breath, you said to focus on my posture, saying, here I am sitting. Am I supposed to chant it to myself, like just go on saying it, repeating it? Or I didn't quite understand what I was supposed to do. Here I am sitting, I kept on repeating that. Am I right there, or
you have, according to your presentation, 4 options. You can be with the pain, you can be with your body, you can be with your breath, or you can go with your kwan or your mantra, and then 4 options. It depends which one is appropriate for the particular pain. So the Buddha says sometimes when you are in meditation, even in advance, the Satipatthana, completely mind gets scattered due to the pain. Under such circumstances, you have to understand mind is scattered. And the reason is pain. And if you look at it, more and more scattering. So the Buddha says, calm down your mind with a pleasant object. That means whatever maybe you are familiar earlier, and the commentator says sometimes loving kindness meditation, or compassion, or your body, whatever may be, that means you break the trend and bring the attention to some desirable, and then once calm down, then you can go to get the pain. So that's a way you directly not dealing face to face with the pain, because you are adding more fuel. So instead you have to have kind of a optional object. So the Chappanaka Sutra always says, take the body posture as a pivotal point or optional. But some people find the metta bhavana or buddhanusati, quality of the Buddha or loving kindness is more lucrative and more desirable, so it depends. So do it and come back. Then you may be coming with a different combination, still the pain may be. In walking meditation, you see sometimes it is thought, sometimes it is sleeping. This is the two aspects of energy. Too much of energy, thinking. Lack of energy is sleep. So that means as far as you have both, you are natural. If you only have thinking, that means too much of pain, energy, agitated energy. Or only sleepiness, that means lack of energy, then you have to do something. But here the modes are changing. At a time too much of energy, at a time lack of energy. So that means it's waving, it's going or swinging one into the other end. So each time active energy to the lack of energy going, you pass the middle path, you don't know. And from sleeping to the active agitated happens, still you are passing the middle area, you don't know because it is very swiftly passing, but you associate both. So add 2 and divide by 2. Then you come to the middle. So till that you have to go, you associate the both and understand there is nothing wrong. But the thing is, it's going to the further extreme. So one day, whenever it is settling down, it is settling down in the middle. So you have to keep on doing and ask the mind to find the equilibrium. Okay. Don't stop sleeping or don't stop thinking, because they are compensating each other, reciprocal each other. Keep on practicing. More and more you practice, the pendulum often rests in the center. When it's moving, as far as you give energy, it is going in the same speed. But whenever you give the inputs, you stop the input, calm down, slowly, calm down, rest in the center. So, when it is moving, center is the fastest place. But when you are not giving any fertilizer to the winding, rest in the fastest place earlier. So therefore, that the day you understand the equilibrium between the thinking and the sleepiness, it's a completely different sphere. You can't imagine, it is nothing divided, add into 2 and divide by 2. It's a kind of a new thing, kind of an equilibrium. So now you missed the bus, because you talk about the extremes, you still yet to find out the middle. So each time middle pass, you don't know now. And if you go prepared, you can see from sleepiness to the agitation to sleepiness, there is a resting place, there is a equilibrium point. On the way we are keep on practicing, one day you may understand it. It's a matter of, it's called blink, understanding of the same. Now you understand all the bad two extremes, but the center is always missing plate, or miss the bus. You have to be aware.
I see the middle also sometimes. It's just that I keep swinging to one end or the other as well. So all three happens.
But you never talk about the middle, because it is our tricky mind. Mind never talk about the correct thing. It is always talking about the mistakes. I mean, that is the media. This is the radio, this is the television, this is the media, always talking about the bad things. And 1,001 good things are there. They never talk because no one is reading it. No one is listening to the good things. They want to have killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, then papers will be solved very quickly. So if one is going to say about, first page is about the sitting meditation very nicely, and about this is first my input, this is in breath and I noted in breath and it was calm and quiet, and this is out breath, this is I noted, and you have to close the paper. No one is reading. People are asking condiments, something to taste, or ajinomoto. This is what the papers are doing, because our minds are so perverted. It's always asking filthy. Even in the meditation, whenever the mind is calm and quiet, in the center, even you never think it as it is not a news. They are not newsmakers. The extremes are the newsmakers. So when Jnanapunika says, mindfulness bring it back there, but it's the mind, whatever the middle is never a colorful character. These extremes are very colorful, very big changes they can do, but quickly disappear. But the center, it is not a colorful person, but never deprive you. Is always trustworthy. So therefore, even if it is boring, you have to write it again, be with it again, familiarize it again, and then you find you are advancing. So whenever you are reporting, your report is imbalance, unfair.
Yes. And can I ask one more, probably an inappropriate question?
Yeah.
When you say
You have to talk to the mic.
When you say sexual misconduct, what does it actually say? Is it like if you're married and if you're having an affair?
No, if you're having a married and a spouse, it's a sexual conduct. If you are transgressing it, sexual misconduct. If you are unmarried and having a sex, males often come under the misconduct. But the females, the commentator says, you are not married, but you have sex, but that particular person you are going to marry later. Then, as a female, it's not a misconduct because in the near future you are going to have him as the husband, then no problem. But even it's for the male, it's a mistake. So I am going to give very information, I will be really in trouble.
Thank you, Bhante. Take one, sir.
Okay, now few minutes that Devika wants to make time.
I think this is an appropriate audience to inform about the next 10-day meditation retreat at Nissarana Vanaya. That will be from the 8th of August till the 18th of August. And that is the only 10-day English retreat for the year. We have 2 retreats in Mitirigala. So if anybody is interested, they can, the application forms are there. I can give you an application form. I will be the RO, and Lakshmi, will you be the assistant RO?
Assistant RO.
So it will be on the web. I think it's still not on the web, but the details are on the web. We will be in the web. But I can put on the notice board my contact numbers of the 3 notice boards, so that anybody interested can write it down till it appears in the web. Right, thank you.
I asked Devika to make this announcement because I really do encourage everyone here to apply for that program if you can. So the earlier you were given the dates, the better the chances that you can block those days and make yourself free. We only get 2 chances a year. So 8 to the 18th of August, na?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
the basic news is that we don't have enough applicants.
Yes, but my application is
all
only
the
been
retreats
given.
houseful.
The Sinhala retreats are
Sinhala retreats are all houseful. They are making grumbling, telling I don't get the chance and kind of thing. But for the English retreat, earlier we had only 1 and then there was a demand, but now we can go for 100. So therefore, both the ROs are they're asking. So that means we have enough space. That's a basic problem. So either we can go for 5-day retreat, or we can go for 1 retreat per year to make room for others. Otherwise, this will be something dragging. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, almost time up. So we are going to have 1 hour walking meditation, and we'll meet here at 3 o'clock for a common sitting, group sitting. So with that announcement, we are going to wind up the question and answer session. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.